政府过紧日子，目的是让人民群众过好日子，这是一个长期的方针政策，并不是短期的应对措施。
你睇個錢，你睇個錢，哇，2錢，我屌，都有㗎，死啦！哇，錢，呢啲好睇啦，哇！
一层一层的来谈噻。
你真的难道别个第一次直接不要谈是怎么回事呢？
不能把我把楼的噻。
不是你不让我走什么意思？你们限制我自由什么意思？
我们不限制你自由。
那你为什么不让我走？
主要是你的这个。
你跟他说。不好意思，不好意思。
Australia has joined a joint declaration reinforcing the importance of Hong Kong's autonomy as China moves to impose its own laws on the territory. The statement issued by Australia, Canada and the United Kingdom expresses deep concern at the proposed legislation, saying it undermines the region's independence. China is trying to enforce national security laws on Hong Kong to prevent, stop and punish activities endangering national security. The trio is condemning the move, saying making such a law on Hong Kong's behalf without the direct participation of its people, legislature or judiciary would clearly undermine the principle of one country, two systems, under which Hong Kong is guaranteed a high degree of autonomy. In the United States, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has joined the criticism after a top diplomat called China's proposed legislation a death knell for Hong Kong.
Brazil's number of coronavirus cases is accelerating as it becomes the world's number 2 worst affected country behind the United States. There are more than 330,000 infections, overtaking Russia. Another 1,000 people have died in the past 24 hours, taking the death toll to more than 21,000.
U.S. military ramps up South China Sea flyovers amid rising tensions. The United States Navy and Pacific Air Forces (PACAF) appear to have ramped up military flyovers in the South and East China Seas near China in a show of might amid growing pandemic tensions. PACAF announced on Tuesday that it had conducted a B-1 bomber mission near Hawaii, in a series of training engagements demonstrating the credibility of U.S. Air Forces to address a diverse and uncertain security environment.
China wants to come out of this pandemic having replaced the United States as the dominant power in the world. And Lou, I talked to the people in the White House National Security Council on China. I talked to other people at the senior levels of government, and that's not how they're thinking. I mean, they're much more hawkish than this sort of wimpy little document proposes. They're looking at supply chains. Bring the supply chains home. Create a coalition, the United States, United Kingdom, like-minded democracies and free market systems, and potentially even decouple from China if China doesn't want to play by the rules. And what are they doing now? Well, they're buying up at fire sale prices technology companies, resource companies. They're taking a position in the world international organizations that they're the moral leader of the world. And look what they've just done in Hong Kong today. They're now crushing Hong Kong. They had a deal with Hong Kong. It wasn't that many years ago where they said, you can have your own system, we'll have ours, we'll be one China. They're reneging on the deal. 5 years ago, the Chinese went and said the South China Sea, but now look, they've militarized it. I think President Trump, he knows he's got a problem, and he knows this is the last chance to stand up to China. I have no doubt that he doesn't shy away from a fight, and he knows when he's convinced, and he's convinced it's the right thing to do, he'll carry it out. I have no doubt he's going to have the strongest China policy anybody can imagine in his second term.
Disgrace. It all comes from the top. They could have easily stopped the plague, but they didn't. Do you see a shift there in the president's, not just his rhetoric, but his approach to President Xi? He's tried to have him as almost an ally and partner in trade talks, but now he's not just going after the communist government in general. He seems to be going directly at the president of China.
Yeah, well, certainly. There has been this change in tone. You know, what he did in the past was what American presidents try to do, is to try to entice Chinese leaders into good behavior, even when we know that they're acting badly. What President Trump has done, starting from yesterday, was some really corrosive language. And I actually think this is a good thing because he's now becoming much more realistic about what the Chinese did. We're seeing a new tone out of the White House, and that, I believe, is a move in the right direction.
But one thing I want to make sure to flag for folks, look, we've been talking this first hour about China's takeover of Hong Kong and how dangerous it is with the ramifications. We played, and we have another good clip coming here from Max Baucus, the Wall Street Journal, who we've been critical at various points with regard to the editorial board as well as the op-ed page. Lead editorial this morning, China moves on Hong Kong. Beijing plans a national security law. Is Taiwan next? that's not a shot across the bow. That is taking the full bazooka from the Wall Street Journal and firing it right at the CCP. To go and throw that down, that number one, that's forward looking. Got to give Jiggot and team credit on that. Number two, there is nothing soft or indirect. That is a 2x4 right upside your head.
Before we go further, I spent a lot of time, but you spent time in both Hong Kong, in mainland China, talking to senior leaders, giving your perspective on the United States, where we are. How were you caught by surprise of how brutal the CCP now after the kind of freedom marches and riots they've had in the summer of last year, of how they're moving forward and kind of putting it in the grill of the United States?
Yes, because Hong Kong has always been the kind of the protected bastion. This is where all the capital is. If you know anything about pay attention to business in China, CCP has for a long time wanted to go and move all the business to Shanghai, and they've pretty explicitly thrown down on people and said, don't rent in Hong Kong, don't buy, because you're going to need to relocate to Shanghai. That's their play. And in fact, Hong Kong, which is one of the coolest cities on the planet, if you've not spent time there, do it before it's closed off permanently. But the fact of the matter is, they're supposed to. That's where the free capital can flow through, because everyone knows that the RMB is funny money and it doesn't really work and don't have democracy. But Hong Kong, where you have that little bit of democracy, they've now thrown out any pretense of that. They're saying, "Hey guys, we're coming in. We're taking this thing over. Forget this whole 50-year handoff. We're moving in for the kill."
But I want to bring in the Brits here for a second, because look, when I started going to Hong Kong as a naval officer in the 70s. It immediately is one of the reasons as a kid I always wanted to join the Pacific Fleet. I wanted to get to China, and what I wanted to do was go to Hong Kong. To go there absolutely blew you away. It was still a British colony, but it ran in it was both China and England. I thought the best of both. And you'd have the Chinese judges walking across to the Supreme Court with the red robes and the wigs. It was so old school, but it worked. It had a certain precision of how it worked. It was still that, and the Brits under Margaret Thatcher understood they couldn't keep this for a long time, but they spent a long time negotiating. In fact, Jonah Bianco of the American Bond Foundation, the Americans got stiffed on the bonds. The British got paid off because they realized they were doing a macro deal. But at that time when they did it, with Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, it was a 50-year deal, one country, two systems. They were guaranteed by the United Kingdom and the United States, really as guarantors, right, to even do this. That I think we actually passed legislation at the time to kind of support it. That's how serious this was, about what a huge thing about the handover and all that in 1997 for 50 years. And for these guys to roll, and they've a little bit taken each year, taking it back. But now this is a bold move. Where is the United Kingdom? Where's Chris Patton? Where's Tony Blair? It was on his watch. It was Chris Patton. Where are all these guys today to stand up for the greatness of the United Kingdom, who were really the guys that made the deal?
Look, the British government, the spokesman for the Prime Minister today saying they expect China to keep up its end of the bargain, but that's about as far as the British government's willing to go at this point. I would like to know, where's Prince Charles on this, because Prince Charles, the heir to the throne, is the guy who went there in 1997 and presided over the handover ceremony. It's really worth reading, and I'm going to tweet and I'm going to pop it into the YouTube live chat, the edited extracts from Prince Charles's travel journal, which was released in 2006. I've read it, the section called The Handover of Hong Kong, or The Great Chinese Takeaway, and that's in his words. And he writes about the propaganda speech that Jiang Zemin gives there. He writes about the handover, and he says something that haunts me from the time I read this. He says, "Thus we left Hong Kong to her fate and the hope that Martin Lee, the leader of the Democrats, would not be arrested."
And quickly before we go to break, Bloomberg, this isn't just us speculating on it. Bloomberg out this morning, China dares Trump to hit back with Hong Kong power grab, and with Xi sending a clear message to Trump, we're going to do what we want in Hong Kong, and we're not scared of the consequences. It's on.
Game on, ladies and gentlemen. Do you want Trump or do you want Biden? We're going to be back. War and pandemic in a moment.
美国资本主义的贪婪者给共产党在1919年的五四运动 错误的政治选择让共产党到中国执政，最后又到了共产党在8964，美国人又错误的评判了共产党，被共产党欺骗，最后又是在2001年签了 WTO， 给了他奥运会，给华尔街大量投资，允许共产党在美国拿走几万亿的钱，这是一切之原因。一切之原因，这就是所有的原因。如果美国人不认识到这一点的话，继续相信共产党，再被共产党欺骗，付出代价的是全美国、全地世界。亲爱的兄弟姐妹们，我想告诉大家的，我想让大家知道的啊，如果这个人类再面临着一次选择，还有机会吗？你没有选择机会，只有这一次。我这两天跟香港的很多这个孩子们聊天，所有这孩子让我特别的感动啊，他们也谈五四。我告诉他们，我说孩子们很简单，1919年的五四运动啊，是我们到今天都没有再达到的高度，因为它调动了社会上一切阶层的站在一起了。而我们今天的这个香港运动，悲剧的事情，这些成年人啊，他们没有和我们站在一起，不是各行各业跟我们站在一起了，是各行各业远离了我们，这是资本起的作用啊。所以说，但是这一天会来的，因为香港安全法，我今天告诉所有战友们，你们记住我现在告诉你的话，你很快会看到我3年前说的话就会发生。一定把香港自贸区取消。